Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Arushi.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so very much for joining us at season 2 of envoCAST, episode 2. Today we'll be speaking with Arushi Sana, who's a passionate entrepreneur, digital entrepreneur, working in various different sustainable practices. And most recently, she was awarded the Times Power Woman of the Year. Arushi, welcome to envoCast. We look forward to hearing more from you. But before maybe we kick off, we would love to know who you are as a person and why did you come into this industry?
So I would say that I think the introduction that you gave right now, I maybe just adding on to that. So I run a news company. It's called NYK Daily. We have a team of global journalists and readers, who team of journalists who contribute to the news as well as the readership all around the world. And we don't just do political news, but we also publish a lot of content on sustainability, on because during COVID is actually when I realized that now people have a have an inclination towards learning what climate action is about. People were more aware. People started staying home and reading a lot of content on the issue, and they were actually willing to make changes in their everyday life because they
Mm.
realized that health is wealth. They realized that the health of like our health and the planet's health is completely interconnected. The more plastic you use, the more sick you're going to be in the future. So this is when and that's when I realized that I should also sort of create content around that. And so it initially started off with, first, like, I started a 6-month project where I realized that I need to eliminate plastic from my house. So I started off with leading a low waste life, and then I moved on to writing a lot of articles on it, like hundreds of them, and just to educate people on the things that they can do all around the world, not just pandering to the Indian audience. And then I started blogging about it on social media as well. And then what I realized is that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are very aware. They're really interested in climate action. They want to protect the planet. They love the nature. I think they love it more than the millennials do. And they like to be a part of, I would say, not just advocacy but also action. So they're very keen on knowing what they can do to protect the planet. So then I started a factory recently which makes bio briquettes, which makes pellets and briquettes out of agricultural waste. And that's basically a renewable alternative for black coal. So we've been working. So we're now expanding into the renewable space finally. I've been doing a lot of waste cleanup drives in a couple of cities in India, and I've been working with municipalities as well to manage the waste that's generated and to ensure that the community has access to eco-friendly resources.
Wow, you have kept yourself very busy. Wonderful, man. It's quite inspiring to hear this. Wow. Okay. So maybe we'll move on to learning more from you, what you feel about, sustainable business practices for companies. Because a lot of companies try to integrate sustainability into their operations, and they're not able to really make that compromise on profitability, and that has always been the agenda is you
And
can't
yeah.
take over the margins, and that's something. So what has been your experience working with a lot of the brands in your past? How do you think can a business integrate sustainability within their operations, of course without affecting their profitability? Or are there any innovative ways how they can, reduce their environmental impact while also keeping that profitability or keeping that efficiency of what they are asking for?
Right. So I actually think that today, fortunately, we have so many alternatives like, for example, the biggest challenge that I see is packaging. More than pollution, more than air pollution that comes out from manufacturing industries, I think the packaging that goes into just delivering a small product on Amazon or like a lot of these e-commerce websites is intense because there's so much bubble wrap, there's so much plastic sellotape. And today we have very affordable alternatives in like brown paper tape or brown paper packaging, and where you don't need so much of plastic bubble wrapping just to keep the product safe till it reaches your home. And I think it's not that that these kind of initiatives are not profitable. I would say that it's just the conditioning that a lot of the manufacturing industries have of being used to a certain kind of profit that they're making. So the moment they see a slight dip in it is when they feel that, okay, no, we don't want to do this because it's going to compromise on our money. And but actually it's just, for example, so I worked with Aditya Birla recently for one of their campaigns, brand campaigns. And it was, I think last year, and they had almost every operation in all of their factories is carbon neutral today, almost. And they're going to be net zero in like the next 10 years or something. And because all of their factories are powered by solar energy, their water is recycled and then used back into the factory to make cement. They have very nice recycling plants that are embedded inside their factories itself, which allows them to keep reusing all the plastic that's getting generated. They recycle that, they upcycle a lot of their plastic. They use, so a lot of their equipment is also made from scrap metal and things like that. So, when you hear stories like this, I'm like, if they can do it, then anybody can do it. And in fact, the sooner you make a change in the operations, the more money it's going to save you in the long run. Because I think in the next few years, at least in the next 10 years, there's no doubt about the fact that governments will be imposing, a sort of threshold as to how much carbon footprint you can generate. And, the whole concept of green credits and things that came in. So people have to be, the more you delay implementing eco-friendly operations and sourcing like eco-friendly packaging, the more expensive it will get in the future. But you have to do it anyway in the future, because there will come a time when these things become a compulsion for you. And and also now I think that basically eco-friendly initiatives are becoming cheaper now, solutions I mean. So whether it's compostable like garbage bags, or whether it's waste management centers that take your waste for like very paltry amounts, and then they recycle everything. They make new things out of it. Your water doesn't have to reach the oceans anymore. You have sewage treatment plants that you can implement in your factory itself. And the same like I worked with Delhi airport as well, and they have a wonderful sewage treatment plant inside the airport that recycles all of their water, and then that's used to garden. It's used in their for all the plants in the airport. So things like that are very I think easy to implement. But I think it's just that initial conditioning that needs to change.
Thank you so much for, giving two examples of Aditya Birla Group and the Delhi Airport. I think these are two companies and institutions which a lot of the world would know about. For listeners not from India, Aditya Birla Group is one of the leading conglomerate groups in the country, which is spread across multiple industries. And it's great to hear that a lot of their machinery is made from waste plastic and they're already carbon neutral in their manufacturing. Uh, in regards to packaging, people who are already listening, if you haven't heard about envoPAP, please do check us out. We do make some revolution in making better sustainable packaging across the world. But Arushi, moving on from business practices, thank you for great examples. Maybe I would love to get to know your perspective on community engagement in regards to sustainability, because here a lot of communities and institutions can contribute to the promotion of better, sustainable, and eco-friendly initiatives. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the community has to. So, if I have to speak from an Indian point of view, then I think that the our lifestyle, which our parents and grandparents used to lead once upon a time, was so eco-friendly in itself. In fact, when I started, like during COVID, when I started leading a low-waste lifestyle, I realized I don't need to go to the supermarket to get my fruits and vegetables that are packed in so much unnecessary plastic. I can just go to a local vendor. I think when I stayed in the US also for a year, and we used to go to the farmers market there. So where they would give you fresh vegetables and everything. I'm not saying organic organic, but at least fresh, and something that you could keep in your own bags. And we used to carry our own bags, and I mean, we do it now also. We take our own bags, we get all our vegetables, and here in Nagpur, it's like we have a whole, a road where all the vendors sit, and then that's where the whole community comes together every Tuesday to buy fruits and vegetables, and they're chit chatting. And then, it's like, so that, I think that's also a very inherent part of community when you're doing things together. So whether it's buying your vegetables, or whether it's dumping your, waste into the garbage truck, or whether it's a community compost pit. So, this is something that we've implemented as well in two cities. And, we started a community vermicompost pit where they could actually
Oh.
throw their fruit and vegetable waste, because not everybody has the bandwidth to keep doing it at
Mm.
home. Because you have to keep churning the compost and stuff. So people actually came out to the pits. They threw all their waste. We collected it from their homes, and all the food and vegetable waste basically, and cardboards, things like paper waste, and we
Mhm.
put everything into the compost pit. And now that compost is being used as manure for a lot of the plants that are on the road, so like the trees and stuff around the community. So this is also something that engages the community together. And I think that from an Indian point of view, I think as long as dinner table conversations, like whenever there are parties here, community parties, it's like the uncles are discussing politics and cricket, and the aunties are discussing when Deepika Padukone is going to have a baby. So, it's like, I think I mean, I sound very, like, offensive right now, but I'm just trying to say, of course, there are exceptions as well. But, I think largely, if you see, then this is kind of the lifestyle in most community events. So I think that the conversation there needs to shift. Everybody needs to
Mm.
talk about how hot it is right now, and how there have been multiple heat waves this summer all over India. And, they need to talk about how they can use a lot of herbal Ayurvedic things which are so eco-friendly in their everyday life. They need to talk about how, like, our local supermarket now finally has a lot of eco-friendly products, like a bamboo toothbrush, tooth powder, bamboo tissues, and things like that, which weren't available offline once upon a time. So now they are, and the solutions are literally at our doorstep. So I think till we don't start talking about these things, and about using, like low chemical cleaners in the house, which don't come in, like, wrapped in plastic to into our doorstep, into our homes, that's when the conversation will sort of become productive, and the community gets involved in these things.
Mm. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah,
Just a back question.
sanitation drives and waste cleanup drives as well. I mean, I've seen a lot of really nice community participation when it comes to, in Hindi in India we call it Vriksharopan, right? So a lot of
Mm.
tree plantation drives, a lot of shramdans that keep happening. So people come together to, clean up the entire waste from a particular area. Then we send it to a recycling plant. Then there are people who love coming for tree plantation drives. They feel so good about just connecting with the soil, connecting with the earth. And it all happens on mostly on a Sunday. So people actually don't mind taking out time, whether it's adults or kids. They don't mind taking out 2 hours of a Sunday, and just of one Sunday in a month, and just coming out and, doing these things with other people in the community.
Wonderful. I'm happy to sign up right now itself the next time you have one. Just a back question to this on community engagement and education. Now, at this point of time, I do feel we need a lot more awareness and education for fostering a sustainable mindset among
Yeah.
future generations. Because, as you said, our generations and our parent generations are someone who are talking about something which is not the right conversation for a dinner table. So, what can awareness and education do, in fostering a sustainable mindset for future generations?
I think so. Like I said, I think awareness is very overdone at this point about the problem. We need to be more aware of the solutions now at this point, and I think that social media is a wonderful way to sort of touch base with how you can lead a low waste life. What is the meaning of a carbon footprint? What are the subsidies that governments across the world are offering on rainwater harvesting or on solar plants, on electric vehicles, and what are the alternatives in your everyday life to a plastic product that you use at home. So and especially with but I think apart from social media, of course, you have mainstream news and media articles as well. But I think, again, I just, in the media, I see so much more emphasis on the problem, like, okay, there's so many heat waves that are going to happen right now. Oh, okay, groundwater is depleting in so and so region, but not enough not enough information on how you can easily install a rainwater harvesting plant in your house or in
Mm.
your local community, which doesn't allow the groundwater to get depleted. So that, which is what I feel, that even on a community level, I think if you can have very small workshops for communities, like if you're in a gated society, it's very easy to organize one. Just call everybody over and onto into the ground, and then just teach them about, tell them brands where they can buy eco-friendly things from, tell them what is sustainable fashion, tell them that our grandmothers and mothers used to wear so much of cotton and linen, and now the same thing is being sold by a lot of fast fashion brands under the name of
Premium.
sustainability. Yeah. So so it's luxury.
Yeah.
So I mean, so which is why I feel like those kind of very small awareness workshops on an individual level kind of really compound and then add on to become something bigger. In fact, now in India, a lot of the corporate offices, they have gardening workshops, like in the office itself, like once in few months. And it's so wonderful to see, like, a lot of my friends, they keep posting pictures where they've made like a terrarium or something. And so things like that encourage people to start taking care of the planet as well. It shifts the mindset, like you said. They get into the mindset that, okay, nature is important, we need to conserve it.
Wonderful. I think I love the idea of gardening drives at companies. It's something
um,
which I can take definitely an inspiration to see if I can push that into our locations across. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us a great perspective. Maybe towards moving towards a little bit of your advocacy work, which you're doing some great work. What have been some key challenges, you've encountered in promoting certain eco-friendly or sustainable practices across the two regions you've worked in? Maybe more
I
on the policy side or government side as well, if you can give a perspective on that.
honestly, my from my in my personal experiences, the challenges have come from people more and less from the government. So in fact,
A good
today I'm
problem to have.
yeah, probably. So like, honestly, the government, right, at least right now, the government in India has been very supportive of anything that a young individual wants to do, in terms of changing a community or changing a city, or landscaping and things like that. Or maybe because I'm from Hyderabad and Nagpur, and these are two cities where genuinely the governments are very open minded. They love interacting with youngsters. They love the idea of just solutions. They want to do something for the climate and things like that. So so my challenge, but has come more from the people, in terms of, like, even if I tell them that, a lot of them, even if I tell them a proper list of solutions that they can sort of implement, whether it's okay, please don't use Oral B and Pepsodent, please use a bamboo toothbrush, please use a
Mm.
tooth powder instead of a toothpaste, please use herbal powders when you're taking a shower instead of like a body wash, please don't use this dishwasher, use something else. And when I give them these solutions, they remember it for a while, and then they forget, like they forget it in a week probably, and then they don't implement it, because they are so used to the convenience of just walking into a supermarket, buying something, coming back. And they are so used to the idea of they're used to, and it's not even about the money, because fortunately today a lot of these eco-friendly products are very easily available, and very affordable. They're available both online and offline. So initially, for me, the challenge on a personal level was that none of these products were available offline. I had to keep ordering online, and then that kind of
Mm.
defeats the purpose of reducing your carbon footprint. So and so I had to keep ordering everything in bulk and things like that. Now, fortunately, the solutions are so easy, but it's just that everybody is very used to the convenience of getting things on one single click on the phone, or they're used to a certain smell. Literally, like in the house, they still want to keep using those. Those floor cleaners that come with rose or citrus like scents and everything, and all of that is terrible for us in the long run. It's terrible for the planet. Half of it is not recyclable plastic. It goes up in our landfills. And then I started, so I eat a lot of millets at home. So millets is a very climate resilient crop. It's not just healthy for us, but it's also very healthy for the planet, and because it's very climate resilient. So, and it requires much lesser water than rice or wheat. So, but here in India, I feel it's only the labor class that is still eating millets because of the affordability. It's quite cheap. It's much cheaper than rice and wheat. But I think that the privileged classes in India are still yet to make that shift because they are so used to the taste of rice in their mouth, and they don't want to make that switch, even though they know that it's healthier for them. So I think for me, that has been like people have been a bit of a challenge. And another challenge for me has also been like in coming to advocacy. So I spoke at the World Bank recently and on a climate finance partnership. And at the summit, so my panelist was I don't want to take names, but my panelist was an active, sustainability activist. So I think, like, I feel like I have a huge problem with activists, because which is why I initially told you I'm not an activist, I'm an advocate, because I think they get so violent. They don't have the right answers. They are only focused on. In my experience, they have been very unproductive. Like they just constantly keep screaming about a certain issue. They keep criticizing governments all across the world, even if they're doing something right. But they don't want, and of course it's important to have opinions, it's important to have dissent, but you can't just be unproductive and negative in a way that you can't come to a solution, or that you're not even willing to accept the solution. So that kind of, I think that kind of defeats the purpose, because then you're just angry and not doing anything about it. So I think that for me, I've had so many like heated debates with people about it, and whether it's at platforms like that or whether it's on my social media as well. And so recently our government had launched like a marine conservation initiative, and I was just appreciating that on my social media. My comment section was filled, oh, Modi bhat, oh, Modi is this, Modi is that. I'm like, so it became a whole thing. And I think to me that kind of a hostile environment is difficult to work with.
Fair enough, and kudos to you. Keep fighting and keep advocating for better practices. I completely agree with you on the millets. I think
Yeah.
2 years ago, I had a millet khichdi, and it was, I think, either it was very well made or I wasn't introduced to such kind of great food before. But looking forward to, incorporating millets more in my diet whenever I can. Great speaking to you, Arushi. Maybe I'll just move on to the last question, which we
Yeah.
would love to get some more, your last thoughts on, one of the things which I did read about you was that you were a brand ambassador for COP28. So we would love to hear a little bit more shortly. And any tips you would want to share for our listeners on how we can adopt a better new sustainable lifestyle? Anything new which you are pushed into your lifestyle and something which you feel might be helpful for others as well?
So COP for me was a very, it was a magnanimous platform, I would say, because first of all, I think Dubai Expo in itself is such a beautiful venue to, host such a large scale conference. But quickly, just to like, put it in short, I think that most of the sessions were really revolving around building sustainable cities and how you can harness renewable power. And the third is to build a framework for whatever money is being raised. So, because earlier it was more about fundraising and things like that. But this time, not only did they raise $55 billion, but they also ensured that there is a proper framework in place to make sure, like, to track where that money is going, where is it being spent. And another thing I liked was the diversity, because so all the panels were whatever sessions that I attended. So the panels had somebody from very diverse backgrounds. There was one person who was a renewable energy company CEO. There was one panelist who was at the same panel, there was also one more person who was, I think, in the education sector. There was an African woman from, I think, Sierra Leone or something, and she was, talking about about how like the West sort of generates all the carbon, and then the effect is, they're the ones getting the most affected. Basically, people generating the least amount of carbon are the ones who are getting the most affected by climate change. And then there was also, like local Middle East historians on the panel who were speaking about how the history of sustainability is really, sort of embedded in the UAE culture and Emirati culture. So I think it was very interesting to hear different sides of, the coin. And there were so many pavilions on, like there was one on renewable energy, there was one on climate finance, there was one on technology, there was one on, I think there was a wonderful fashion show, like a sustainable fashion show, and Campbell was walking the ramp, and everybody was losing it. So, but yeah, it was a wonderful experience. There was Sadhguru as well. He spoke on the Save Soil movement, and the entire venue was powered by solar energy. It was a plastic free zone. We were getting bottles in recycled tin cans, not bottles, sorry, water. We were getting water in recycled tin cans, so no plastic bottles and everything. So I think they kept their own carbon footprint in check. And there was also an activist group that landed up there. So they kind of got through the barricades, and they created a whole scene there, because it was being held by a oil and gas economy based country. So people were sort of protesting against that as well. But I think for me, it was all in all a very enriching experience, because I got to hear a lot, and I was very interested in sustainable architecture. So we had a lot of architects talking about how cities can be built by green material, and and with proper like drainage systems intact. So yeah, so it was very informative, it was wonderful, it was really nice to see our prime minister there as well, and talking about India's goals for a net zero carbon economy. And I think the venue was like perfect for a conference of that level.
Wonderful. I'm glad you had a great time. I was there for 2 days, quick short trip for COP, but it was some good conversations, good panels, and I think some great efforts being taken. I know we have not reached the goal of what we should be doing
Yeah,
yet,
correct.
but I think it's a steady, slow, progressive
Yeah,
transition to better. We have a
correct.
very short time. We need to get better, like we need to clean up our act by 2030, maybe 2027.
Yeah.
But I
They
look
keep
forward to the
pushing
next
the
COP.
goal more.
Exactly. I look forward to this year's COP in Azerbaijan and see
Yeah,
where we can take the framework.
yeah.
But Arushi, I would love to thank you so very much for
Thank you so
being a
much,
part
man.
of envoCAST. Thank you for your perspectives. It has been great. Our listeners are going to love this episode. So thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much.
of being a part
Thank,
of this.
thank you for having me. Thank you.